Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
My fellow Americans, welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425 should you wish to be on the program. The text word is Army, A-R-M-Y. Text it to 33777, and you can fill out the form as we start going around the nation doing events. I'll be able to get in touch with you by email, let you know where we're going to be. I know we're going to be November 7th at KRMG. Our Tulsa affiliate will be out there right after the election doing an election debrief with the audience out there. We're working on the details right now. So if you text Army to 33777, put in your name, zip code, and email address, that'll be our way to realize you're in Oklahoma, and we'll be able to email you and say, hey, here's where we're going to be. Come see us November 7th. We'll get all the details for you. We are working on those right now. There is breaking news I need to bring to you. The news broke earlier. You might have heard it, and there were suspicions as to what it was about, but it has now been confirmed in the last couple of minutes. Kathy Hochul's former deputy chief of staff, that'd be the governor of New York's former deputy chief of staff, Linda Sun, has been arrested by the federal government. She was a Chinese spy. The indictment states she worked to advance Chinese Communist Party interests in state government, which included blocking representatives from the Taiwanese government from meeting with New York government officials. She and her husband did this while laundering millions of dollars from the Chinese government, according to the United States Attorney's Office. Yet again, another Chinese agent working inside the government of the states and federal government. We've had a Korean spy as well recently who is married to a columnist. But this, again, in Canada, there are massive scandals about the Chinese playing in Canadian elections to help Justin Trudeau's parliament, and that scandal is about to bring down his government. And it's happening in this country as well. And I need to make a point to you that you're not going to want me to make. But I got to make the point anyway. It goes without saying, this is bipartisan. This is bipartisan. The Chinese are willing to pay off any American willing to sell their soul. Now, disproportionately affects Democrats. I mean, Fang Fang did the bang bang with Eric Swalwell or whatever his name is. He's a Democrat. This is a Democratic administration. There are plenty of people within the Biden administration, I'm sure, on the payroll of the Communist Party of China. But there are Republicans as well willing to sell their soul. It is, however, I think fair to say disproportionately, the Chinese find greater sympathies among the Democrats, which is notable because of one of Tim Walz's attacks on Donald Trump. Tim Walz, of course, is suspect given the credible allegations that the Chinese Communist Party paid for some of his trips to China, and he's refusing to disclose those trips. But Tim Walz, attacking Donald Trump, said this.
Somebody
Somebody said, what's next? Child labor? Hell yeah, it's in there. That's what they've got in there. You see states doing that, putting our children at risk. That's what they'll do.
He's attacking Donald Trump for supporting children in the United States being able to get jobs. It's actually a Project 2025 attack he's tying to Donald Trump. In Minnesota, the Minnesota legislature passed legislation to prohibit the importation of goods from China that child labor produced, and Tim Walz vetoed the legislation. In fact, while Tim Walz has been very stridently vocal about the massacre at Tiananmen Square and the humanitarian disaster that is the Chinese government, Tim Walz has repeatedly vetoed legislation that would have actually cracked down on child labor and human trafficking and persecution of religious minorities in China, the Uyghurs and others. And yet he wants to attack Donald Trump on child labor while he's vetoed legislation that would have actually done something about child labor in China. Democrats and their ties to China are something. It's quite remarkable, actually. I myself think that we probably need to get more serious about dealing with China than we are, and we, of course, can't until Biden leaves. Another issue where I think Donald Trump has been better on an issue than Joe Biden, and these issues continue to stack up. These issues continue to mount. These issues continue to be clarifying. It's something we got to pay attention to. Now, we've also got to pay attention to Kamala Harris. I want to play you this audio. This is Kamala Harris talking to Jake Tapper. And she's talking about speech and, in particular, social media companies allowing people to use their platforms to speak without government control.
He has lost his privileges, and it should be taken down. And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
Jake Tapper, by the way, was incredulous that she would say that these people are allowing individuals to speak to millions of people without regulation or oversight. Which, by the way, you should note that your evening newscast has no government regulation over it. They speak to millions of people. The Democrats have twisted the freedom of the press in the First Amendment to be exclusively for the press, which is not the way the founders intended and not the way it's interpreted under law. You know, I saw someone say, well, Kamala Harris knows the difference between someone saying something online and someone screaming fire in a crowded theater. You know, so for those of you who did not go to law school and for some of you who did, you know, the whole line screaming fire in a crowded theater is not actually a legal standard. It's not. In fact, you can stand in a theater and yell fire. You actually legally can do that. And they cannot charge you with yelling fire in a theater that you are lying. Now, if you cause a mass stampede with your words, you can be prosecuted for causing a stampede, but you can't be prosecuted for your speech. If you say things that cause injury to others, you can be prosecuted for causing injury. You're not being prosecuted for your speech. There are consequences. There's defamation, things like that. But just standing up and saying fire in a crowded theater, if no one leaves the building, if no one stays, you can't be charged with anything. It's a dumb thing that people say, I was yelling fire in a crowded theater. Yelling fire in a crowded theater isn't what gets you in trouble. It's the riot that ensues. Kamala Harris seems to think that people should not be allowed to speak freely on social media when they say things that aren't true. Kamala Harris herself regularly says things that aren't true. Members of the media regularly say things that aren't true. CNN is in a lawsuit right now about things said on its network, possible slander. Media outlets, including CNN, had to settle with Nick Sandmann for accusing him of being something he wasn't when he was harassed by a progressive activist at the Right to Life rally in Washington, D.C. There are consequences to defamation. The media says things that aren't true. Yeah, I just pointed out this fact check from this Tampa TV station that isn't true. They're saying something is false that is true. Yet the Democrats believe that the media should be allowed to get away with it and you shouldn't. And social media companies that allow you to build a platform of your own that competes against the media, that they're bad. In Brazil, progressives in Brazil have banned Twitter. Now, again, I refuse to call it X. I had to fire Philip because he refuses to call it Twitter. Just because the insane CEO of Twitter has decided to call it X doesn't mean the rest of us should go along with the lemmings running off the cliff, like a certain millennial and former employee of mine who's at work today. I guess he didn't get the memo. Nonetheless, I digress. Twitter is banned in Brazil because they don't like the fact that you can get on Twitter and say something that they don't believe is true. And time again, the elites have decided that instead of responding to bad speech with good speech, that we just need to shut everybody up. You know, the secret to combating lies is truth, not censorship. Because when you censor, you suggest to a number of people that maybe that person is credible. And by claiming that that person is credible, by blocking their speech, you actually amplify it. It's called the Streisand effect. Have you heard about Barbara Streisand? So a photographer took a picture of houses along cliffs in California. If I remember right, he was doing a book about erosion in California at the beach, and was taking pictures up and down the coast of the mansions that were being built on these cliffs. One of them was Barbara Streisand's. And Barbara Streisand sued as an invasion of privacy that he included her house. And you know what happened? Everybody went online to look at her house from the picture. She took a book that maybe would have gotten 150 academic library purchases and made it into a bestseller, because she screamed about it and she tried to cover it up. When you try to censor people and shut those people up, what you do is you elevate their speech. The best way to combat them is through truth. There will be people who don't believe you, who want to believe the lie, but a lot of people will believe you. And what the left doesn't seem to understand is that. And I think it's actually they understand it, they just don't like it. I don't think it's a coincidence that for years the left has tried to shut down talk radio with the fairness doctrine. And now they're trying to shut down people on social media. See, what happens is when political parties are on the outside, they seize on that thing, that technology that can give them a way around the prevailing thoughts. So, for example, talk radio was where the right went when Bill Clinton became president of the United States. Rush Limbaugh was taking off. Talk radio became the conservative stronghold. And then they got Fox News, a foothold in television. When George Bush was president and the left was on the outs, the internet became the thing. And the left to this day does a better job online than the right. You look at left-wing sites, they look more polished, they look more professional. Right-wing sites all look kind of sketchy. They've never quite gotten the design aspect down. The left sites come across credible. But then something happened. Elon Musk bought Twitter. And suddenly the left couldn't censor people on Twitter the way the old regime at Twitter was doing. And now they want to arrest. You got Robert Reich out there calling for the arrest of Elon Musk, that threatening with arrest if he doesn't crack down on people saying stuff they don't like. For all the talk about Donald Trump being an authoritarian, Kamala Harris is actually in power right now, surrounded by people who want to arrest those who say things they don't like. Maybe the left needs to look in the mirror when they start prattling on about authoritarians.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means. It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop Amazon for all your gifting needs.
Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. 877-973-7425 is the phone number. Again, if I can bug you about this, you actually help me tremendously to be able to help you, because what's going to happen is you're going to get mad at me because I'm going to show up in your neck of the woods. You're not going to know about it, and you're going to be upset because I didn't email you because you're like, I'm on the list. Well, you got to text the word Army to 33777 and fill out the form. I just need your first name, last name, email address, and zip code. I don't need your phone number. You can give it if you want. I don't really need it. I don't care. But email and zip code I got to have so that if I go to Orlando, or I go, like, for example, in November to Tulsa, or I head up to Hartford, or I go out to Sacramento, I can say, all right, show me everybody who's in this state, who's on the list. And I can email you and say, I'm coming. Come see me, so that you know. All you have to do is text Army to 33777. It's a painless process. Don't complain when I show up and you don't know because you didn't bother to text Army to 33777. Now, there is some data here that bothers me greatly. An all-time high. This is from the federal government. 464,000 Americans are now working 2 full-time jobs. Now, here's the thing. In the grand scheme of total American workers, that's not significant. But it's significant for all 464,000 of them. And it is the highest number going back in federal records. And people are basically working 2 7.5-hour jobs a week, which is insane. 15 hours a day out of a 24-hour day. They're barely sleeping. It's crazy. And this is happening in Joe Biden's economy. It was a number declining when Donald Trump was president, you should know. It was trending during Obama. And then it went down under Trump, and now it's at an all-time high under Joe Biden. And some of it is people working a whole bunch of part-time jobs, 3 and 4 part-time jobs, now ultimately classifying themselves as working 2 full-time jobs. That's not a sign of a healthy economy, but then you all knew that. It's just the Democrats who say otherwise. Now, let's say you're a small business owner and you got to worry about your tech support and your computers. Vision Computers can build you computers. If you go to the one-size-fits-all big box store, that's what you're going to get. One size fits all maybe doesn't fit your business. With Vision, they're going to design the computer based on their conversations with you to be what you want. And then they give you tech support for free. So your employees, once they have Vision's computers, if they ever run into a question, they call Vision. Their hold time is less than 15 seconds. They get the answer. They go back to work being more productive. All you do is call them at 404-COMPUTE. But now let's say you don't have computers from Vision, but you can't afford the 6-figure salary of the in-house IT guy. For just $179 a year per computer, Vision Computers can be your computer solution so that your employees, again, can call them. Hold time less than 15 seconds. They get the answer. What's going on? Vision can help them with email, printer, remote in if they need to, and get your employee back to work so you don't lose productivity because of your computer mess-ups. Call them at 404-COMPUTE. Tell them I sent you. You're going to get an even better deal. VisionComputers.com or 404-COMPUTE. Use Vision Computers for all your tech needs.
Blinds.com Cyber Monday Last Chance is happening now. Don't miss out on up to 45% off site-wide. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can handle everything from measure to your whole home installed for one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Save up to 45% site-wide, plus a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Greetings, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you're just tuning in, there is breaking news. Governor Kathy Hochul of New York, her former deputy chief of staff, has been arrested along with her husband by the federal government, alleged to be a Chinese spy or an undisclosed agent of China in their language. And also that she and her husband helped China launder millions of dollars in this country. Her husband apparently owned a liquor store. That's happening right now. Pretty big development. There's also another story in the New York Post that we need to pay attention to. Migrants flooding New York City's justice system make up 75% of arrests in Midtown. With sanctuary city laws, they're handcuffing the cops. Jefferson Maldonado, a 31-year-old migrant from Ecuador, has been arrested in New York City 5 times since arriving in the U.S. earlier this year. His latest bust was for stealing a pair of pants and a beer from a Target near Herald Square. Asked why he committed the crime, the migrant thief said, "I wanted to change my clothes and think. I wanted to sit down and think about my life, about what to do, because this is not a normal world." Okie dokie. Across New York, recently arrived migrants are flooding the criminal justice system. Police sources tell the New York Post a staggering estimate: as many as 75% of the people they've been arresting in Midtown Manhattan in recent months for crimes like assault, robbery, and domestic violence are illegal aliens. In parts of Queens, the figure is more than 60%. Now, the New York Post uses the euphemism migrants, but then the New York Post also is willing to call men women when they're actually men. I will use the term illegal alien, which is an inoffensive, accurate term to describe the phenomenon. The problem, according to the New York Post, is made worse by sanctuary city laws that mean New York cops aren't allowed to work with immigration and customs enforcement on cases in which they believe suspects are in the country illegally. Additionally, the New York Police Department says it is barred from tracking the immigration status of offenders, which is probably why they're actually using the word migrant here, because New York City police are not allowed to know. Now, there's a corollary to the story I talked about last week, and that is that there's more video of the migrant gangs, illegal alien gangs in Colorado taking over an apartment complex. This is happening more and more around the country as violent gangs spread out across the United States, and they are illegal aliens. Now, I want to play you some audio here. This you got to hear. This audio is Kamala Harris, and it's 2 rounds of audio. The first is from this year, talking about illegal aliens.
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward.
Now, that was Kamala Harris in 2024. Now, here is Kamala Harris at a town hall when she's running for president in 2019. Remember, you just heard her this year in her interview with CNN saying, "I'm the only person in this race for president who was an attorney general who enforced our immigration laws."
And I actually, as Attorney General, informed California law enforcement that ICE detainers are not mandatory. I disagreed with it, and that's why I issued that policy for the sheriffs and the district attorneys of California, telling them that these were not mandatory.
So there she is in 2019 admitting she told local law enforcement they did not have to cooperate with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So in 2019, you don't need to cooperate with them. And in 2024, I'm the only one who enforced the immigration laws. No, you admitted in 2019 you told local law enforcement they didn't have to cooperate. Let's hear these again.
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. And I actually, as Attorney General, informed California law enforcement that ICE detainers are not mandatory. I disagreed with it, and that's why I issued that policy for the sheriffs and the district attorneys of California, telling them that these were not mandatory.
I disagreed with it as Attorney General because she disagreed with it. She told everyone they didn't have to enforce the law.
I believe there should be consequences.
Firing off. Y'all, this is the problem. When Kamala Harris decides to tell you something now that in practice she did not believe, and she did not believe that local law enforcement needed to cooperate with ICE. Let's just deal with the situation of Laken Riley. Not Lincoln Riley. I saw Lincoln Riley. They beat LSU this weekend, and my first thought was, didn't Joe Biden say he was dead? He did. Joe Biden said it was Lincoln Riley, the coach for University of Southern California. He was alive and beating up LSU this Sunday night. It was Laken Riley. Laken Riley in Athens, Georgia, nursing student, was there, was killed by an illegal alien. And the authorities in Athens, Clark County said they're not a sanctuary city. That was their defense. The mayor came out. The mayor is a progressive, dyed-in-the-wool progressive, who he and the city and county commission there worked very hard to turn Athens, Clark County, Georgia, into a sanctuary city. They've got a very progressive DA who doesn't enforce the law, and they themselves don't enforce the law, and they themselves, along with the sheriff there in Athens, Clark County, did not want to cooperate with ICE. Laken Riley's murderer was in and out of jail in New York and in Athens, Clark County, Georgia, and he wound up murdering her. Had either New York City or Athens, Clark County, Georgia enforced the law and cooperated with ICE, the man would have been deported. But they knew better. Laken Riley is dead because of progressive Democrats deciding that they know better and that they don't need to enforce the law, like Kamala Harris when she was actually Attorney General. Who are you going to believe, the Kamala Harris then or the Kamala Harris now? Are you going to believe Kamala Harris's words or believe Kamala Harris's record? Because Kamala Harris's words are she was an Attorney General and she enforces the law and she would enforce the law and she believes there must be criminal consequences. Kamala Harris, as actually Attorney General in California, told local law enforcement, you don't need to enforce this. You don't need to cooperate with ICE. Have your sanctuary cities. In New York now, 75% of the people arrested in Midtown Manhattan, a sizable geographic territory densely packed on Manhattan Island, 75%, they're going to say migrants because they're not allowed to check and confirm that they're illegal aliens. They suspect it, but New York City won't allow them to cooperate with the federal government and check, won't allow them to cooperate with ICE. They put the people of New York City at danger. By the way, can we get more of these people to New York City, please? Can we bus more of them to New York City? Let the people of New York deal with the consequences of their actions. There's no reason for the people of Texas to have to deal with these, or the people of Florida or Georgia or any other state. New York City wants this. San Francisco wants this. Let them take all these illegal aliens. They're the ones who want it. They're the ones who want to be the sanctuary cities. Let them deal with the consequences of it. Let the voters have to deal with what they voted for. Let them feel it. It's like a parent who discovers their kid smoking and makes them smoke the whole pack of cigarettes. Let them take all the illegal aliens. Let them tax their social services. Let them see their crime go up. Let them feel the consequences of their actions. They were perfectly fine letting Texas have to deal with it. They were perfectly fine letting Florida have to deal with it. Let them deal with it. Let them go to Chicago. By the way, you've got a video. I can't play it for you because the profanity. A gangbanger in Chicago letting the Venezuelan gangs know you come to Chicago, we'll take you on. Gang wars coming to Chicago as the Venezuelan gangs and MS-13 together try to move into the turf of the Crips and the Bloods and all the other gangs up there. This is not going to wind up going well for anybody. More, please. Send them. Let the people of Chicago understand what happens when you refuse to enforce your laws, when you decide to turn your city into a sanctuary city. Let them have all the illegal aliens. Let their social services be overwhelmed. Let their law enforcement be overwhelmed. I don't wish it on anybody, but these are the ones they've been asking for it. They've been asking to be sanctuary cities. They've been asking for open borders. They've been asking for this to happen, so let it happen. Let them choke on it. It sounds cruel, but just like when, again, the example of you find your kid smoking, it's not a good habit, so you force your kid to smoke the whole pack of cigarettes and they get super sick and they throw up and they never smoke again. These are the cities that could, without consequence, declare themselves sanctuary cities, and they didn't have to deal with the fallout of it because the illegal aliens weren't there. Now they're there, and they're overwhelming the cities. Let's continue to overwhelm those cities and let them feel the effects of their policies. And maybe they'll see the light and change their mind, just like the kid who's no longer interested in smoking because he got overwhelmed by the pack of cigarettes. That's what needs to happen. It's bad, but they wanted the bad, because they decided the bad wasn't bad. How many more Americans are going to die or be assaulted or robbed because of their policies? It's all well and good for Kamala Harris on the campaign trail to say she would enforce the laws, but the Kamala Harris who was Attorney General of California did not, and the Kamala Harris who is currently the sitting Vice President of the United States has not done anything to improve the situation. She now wants to talk about Donald Trump killing an immigration plan. She had 3.5 years to deal with the situation and refused, and now is hiding behind Donald Trump, say, well, he killed the law. Why didn't you do anything in the first 3.5 years? You can't blame Donald Trump for everything. You have to deal with the consequences of your actions. And they have chosen not to deal with the consequences of their actions and to lie to the American public. And so many members of the press are willing to give them a pass because they fear Donald Trump more than they love the truth. And the truth is, we can't go on like this. Social services are overwhelmed. Americans are dying. Did you hear about the player for San Francisco who was shot? Let me see if I can find the San Francisco 49ers player shot. He was shot by an illegal alien who was a gangbanger who was let out of prison. He was shot in the chest during a Union Square robbery. Thankfully, he's out of the hospital. A juvenile suspect is in custody. His name is Ricky Pearsall. He was shot in the chest Saturday during an attempted robbery. He's in fair condition, out of the hospital, was walking along carrying shopping bags to his car around 3:30 p.m. A suspect attempted to rob him with a gun. There was a struggle. Police identified the suspect as a 17-year-old male resident of Tracy, California. It turns out, based on other reporting, the suspect had been in and out of jail as a juvenile, was an illegal alien. And of course, the police didn't want to cooperate with the feds. We are in a crisis, and it's a crisis that the Biden-Harris administration has caused. And we've also got financial crises and bank problems as well. Swiss America wants to help you protect your hard-earned assets. They're the trusted leader in precious metals, and they have been for 40 years. They've been warning people about a secret war on cash for some time. If you're interested in safeguarding your cash from the secret war on cash, you need to get their report. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. You need to read their report. It takes less than 15 minutes. It's easy to understand. It can save you on your retirement and finances. All you have to do to get this report is call or text 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency. It's growing. It's spreading. They can track your purchases using cash. Swiss America can show you how. All you need to do is get their report and read it. Text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. Just text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646. Or go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK, or call or text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. Hello there. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I have to share something passionately with you. Football is back. Nature is healing. The weather is cooling. It's a wonderful time of year. Sadly, my buddy Jared is probably going to listen to this. I couldn't respond to him on Sunday night. I wanted to. He's an obnoxious USC fan, and they beat LSU. It was actually a really good game. I mean, the Alabama game was a blowout. The Georgia-Clemson game was a blowout. Everybody's blowing out FSU. I'm sorry to you FSU fans. My gosh, am I just sorry for you FSU fans. My Uncle Leaf, yes, Leif Erickson, is an FSU guy. In his waning years in life, man, it's sad to see. But hey, they could be Florida. It's just nice to see college football come back. The NFL comes back this coming week. So on Sunday night, I made Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. Basically, I just made the filling for Philly cheesesteak. I left out the bell peppers, just onion. I used fontina cheese and shaved ribeye. Put it all together, added the cheese, stirred it all up till the cheese melted around, put it in the refrigerator, and the next day stuffed them into, I did that on Saturday, and on Sunday stuffed them into egg roll wrappers, wrapped them up like an egg roll, and deep fried them. And it was glorious. Absolutely glorious. They were delicious. Served them with some sweet chili sauce mixed with just a little bit of Duke's mayonnaise to thicken it up. It was fantastic. And we sat and we watched LSU yet again embarrass itself on the football field. Go Tigers. Go harder than you did. It was sad to see. But nonetheless, college football is back and the weather is cooling, which means it's a good time of year. We've only got about 60 days until this infernal presidential campaign ends and the next one begins. We'll have a respite after that for just a few weeks until we get into the 2026 midterm cycle, the never-ending election season. But at least we have something else to talk about. I can sit – I did. I sat in my hot tub last night and I watched FSU lose again. Oh, you poor – listen, at least you've got baseball now. You Florida teams – You've got baseball now. You can be happy about baseball. The Florida-Georgia game, we know how that's going to go at Halloween. It's okay. It's all right. I'm excited for every team in America to join the SEC and be beaten by the SEC. And by the way, how weird was it to see Nick Saban sitting in the stands instead of being on the field? It's like, Satan on sabbatical. It's just nice to have football back so I can talk about something else with less education than I do politics. When we come back, we do have to talk about politics, though. We got to talk about, well, the biggest government failure of the Biden-Harris administration. It's only just starting to get notice. Where is the internet? It's not there for people who were expecting it.